Daniel here for Tabletop for One. Please join me at the table as I play through the solo mode of Power Plants. And I thank you for joining me tonight on my solo playthrough of Power Plants. And so I've gone ahead and set up the board. Basically, you're going to take 5 different types of plants and take the number 6 from each of those and place them in a random way like this on the main board. Now do note that you can only use these 8 plants, so there's a couple plants in the game that you cannot use for the solo mode. And so you're going to pick out a player color for yourself. I picked out the yellow. And then you're going to pick out a player color for the mole, the AI, and I picked out the purple. I recommend taking some extra of a different color because the AI can never run out of sprites, yet you can. So you're going to probably need some extras unless you're really good at blocking the AI. Just set aside some of the coin tokens here because you might earn some throughout the game. And then you're going to draw 4 tiles from the bag and put them up at the top there. I may or may not have to grab from those tiles at some point. I'll go over that when it happens. And then for the 5 plants, you're going to have the cards on the side here, and I'll go over each one. All right, so I have the Tangle Thorn, and the Tangle Thorn lets me sprout sprites on an adjacent square, 3 sprites. Or if I grow, I can add 1 sprite to the Wizard's Patch. All these abilities will make sense as I play. We have the Honey Leaf. When you sprout the Honey Leaf, it adds 2 sprites to any adjacent patch that has 1 or 0 sprites on it. If you grow, you're going to add 1 sprite to any patch next to the wizard that has 1 or 0 sprites on it. And then we have the Starflower. Starflower lets you, when you sprout it, lets you gain 1 gem, plus 1 more for each sprite in the patches next to the wizard. If you grow it, you gain 1 gem for each patch next to the wizard that has at least 1 sprite. Do note that gems are points at the end. And then there's Snapjaw. Snapjaw will let you capture 1 rival sprite from any patch in a field next to the wizard, then add 1 sprite to any patch in that field. And then to grow, you can capture 1 lone rival sprite from a patch next to the growing Snapjaw. And then Wing Bean. Wing Bean, when you sprout it, lets you move any 1 unlocked patch, except the wizards, to any plot. You expel all rival sprites from the moving patch and gain 1 gem per expelled sprite. If you grow it, you add 1 sprite to the growing Wing Bean, then choose 1 unlocked patch that's not the wizard, or next to it, move that patch with with everything on it to a plot not next to the wizard. So when you arrange these here, you're going to arrange them from morning to midday to evening, top to bottom. Now, if you have any that are the same as far as time of day, you just randomly place them in any order there. All right, and also I've drawn my 2 starting tiles here. And so the way the turn is going to go is I get to place 1 of these tiles, and then I draw 1 from the bag to replenish, and then the mole gets to go. When I place a tile, I'm going to place it on any adjacent space in the garden here, and then I choose to sprout it or grow it. Now when the mole draws a tile from the bag here, I have to place it in the garden based on its rules, and I'll explain that in just a moment. But when you activate the mole's tiles, they go by a special set of rules, so their powers are different than the powers that I use. They're fairly similar, but still different, so it takes some getting used to what they do. One other thing to note, that when using any of these plants, is sometimes you get to put a sprite on the plant when you put it down. It'll be notated by the symbols here, so these 2 you actually don't get to add a sprite, but these 3 showing the green symbol here lets you add a sprite to the tile you put down. Now the mole, however, always gets a free sprite on the tile it puts down. So it's going to be putting out a lot more sprites than you will. So you have to really be clever in how you block the mole and try to stop his sprites from expanding. And so the goal of this game is to control the largest patches and score the most points. Now you can score a bunch of points from gems, possibly, but the vast majority of points are going to be from controlling locations. And so when you control a location by having sprites on a patch, and so if there are like 3 spots together, that's considered one whole area of the same kind. And let's say he had 2 here, and I had 1 here and 1 here. What this would indicate is that I control that area. Because I control 2 patches, he only has 1. The amount of sprites at a location are only considered on a tiebreaker on normal scoring. So if you check on the difficulty here, it says in medium, which is what I will play here, is in a field where you are tied, the higher total number of sprites in the field is the tiebreaker instead of the lowest numbered patch. If that is tied, the mole wins first place in the field. So once again, if this was the setup here, where I own 2 spaces and he owned 2 of the one area, we look at how many sprites. I have 3, he has 3. We're completely tied up. He wins that area and will score a ton of points. And so we'll get started. And so what I can do is I can take this honey leaf here and I can place it right here. And when you place it, you place the wizard token on top. And I'm not going to get a free sprite because it says no free sprite for that type of plant. And so I have the option of either growing or sprouting at this location. If I sprout, I'm going off of the tile that the wizard is on, which means I would add 2 sprites to this location and 2 sprites to that location based on the honey leaf sprout. Now, if I decided to grow, I would grow based off of the tiles adjacent to where the wizard is. And so I would grow based off of honey leaf, which would allow me to place 1 sprite here and 1 sprite here. And then I would grow off of the starflower, which would give me 1 gem for each location next to the wizard that has a sprite on it. And that includes the enemy sprites, by the way. And that would give me 2 gems at this time. Now, when you are activating the grow powers, you have to go in order from top to bottom. So keep that in mind. But in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and do the sprout and put 2 on each of those locations. And then I will draw a tile. And I got a snap jaw. And now it's the mole turn. So you just draw 1 tile for the mole, and then you're going to place it. And so the way the rules go with the mole is you're going to place it in a spot that's next to the most patches. Now in this case here, there's only, the highest spot is 2 patches. So if I place it here, it's next to 2 patches here, or here, or here, 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 and here. These spots on the end next to the corners here are not considered because they're only next to 1 patch. Then I place it next to the most patches of the same matching type. Now there's only 1 patch here, so it's either going to go here or here. And at this point, you place it the furthest spot that matches clockwise. So we'll start here, we'll move here, and that's where it goes. And then we're going to place a wizard there. We're going to automatically give the mole a free spirit, or free sprite, according to its rules. And then we're going to activate the mole power. Now the mole power on the starflower is that the mole gains 1 gem for each patch next to the wizard, and 1 gem for each sprite on those patches. So there's 2 patches next to the wizard, and 2 sprites on one of those patches, so he's going to get a total of 4 points. And we'll place those there. Now it is my turn. So now I get to choose where I want to go next. I definitely want to look at maintaining control of the starflower. So I'm thinking I should go right here. And so I'll go there, and then I get a free sprite for the snapshot in that place. And then if I sprout right now, I will capture this rival sprite, then add one to any tile in that field. So I could add one there or here. But if I grow, I will first grow off of the star flower, which lets me gain 1 gem for having one tile with a sprite on it next to the wizard. And then I can grow off the snapjaw, capturing that sprite. So I have to decide whether getting that extra point is worth it or placing a sprite in this space. And I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with the extra point. So I'm gonna grow. So I get 1 point for that. And then I'm gonna capture the sprite. At the end of the game, each player has to pay for captured sprites with gems. Alright, then I draw one for me and I get a snapjaw again. And now it is the mole's turn. And the mole has the wing bean. So in this case here, it's going to go once again to the place that's next to the most patches. There's only one spot that's going to fit, and that's right here because it's next to 3. So it'll place here. Move the wizard. Add a mole sprite there. And then activate the wing bean ability. So find the unlocked patch with the most of your spirits on it. That's my spirits, not the moles. Move that patch clockwise around the garden to the first available patch touching the wizard. Remove your sprites from the patch that moved and add the same number of mole sprites to the wizard's patch. So what an unlocked or locked sprite is whether it has to traverse a narrow gap here. So you can't pull a sprite out of that position there. But pretty much everything else goes. So the one that is unlocked with the most sprites of mine on it is this one here. And so it's going to come out and move clockwise to this position here. Then we remove my 2 sprites from it, adding 2 of his to that spot. And now he suddenly wrestled control of the honey leaf field. Alright, so now it's my turn, and so I'm going to go ahead and do the same back to him, basically. So I'm going to place this one right there. I will place the wizard here. I get a free sprite on that patch. And now I get to choose any one unlocked patch and move it to any plot. And then I get to expel all the rival sprites from the moving patch and gain 1 gem per expelled sprite. So I have a couple options here. If I move this one over to this area here, I will have added this one to my field, making it a 3 field that I currently have control of because I will expel his sprite. Or I could expel those 2 sprites and get 2 points. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I like the idea of building it up. Now it does mean that whatever tile he draws, he's going to put here because that's going to touch the most spots. So we expel this one here, and I gain a point for that. And then I redraw, got a star flower, and now it's the mole's turn. So the mole's going to go, automatically putting it right here, which conveniently helps him out with 1 mole sprite there. And now he's going to activate it and gains 1 gem for each patch next to the wizard and 1 gem for each sprite in those patches. So there's 4 patches next to the wizard and 4 sprites total on those patches. So he's going to gain a total of 8 points. That really puts me in a bad position. He's got 12 points already. And so I'm pretty sure I don't like him in that position. I'm going to place this snapjaw here. So we'll place the wizard there, adding a free sprite from the snapjaw. And then I get to capture one of his sprites there. I'm using the sprout option. So I capture his sprite, and then I get to place one in this field. And so I'm going to place it right there. I'm going to redraw. Finally got some Tanglethorn. And then he gets a wing bean again. So he's going to go to either this place here because it's next to 3, or this place here because it's next to 3. He'll do the one that's next to a matching tile. So I'll place there. We move the wizard here. We're going to add one sprite for free. And then he's going to move and unlocked one of my tiles with the most sprites on it. Now, there are 3 tiles that are unlocked currently. And so now you have to follow his rules on tied patches. So you pick the patch that is part of a larger field first. Well, that's easy. This one here is part of 4. And so that's going to be his choice, which of course conveniently helps him. So we're going to go clockwise around into the first spot next to the wizard. And then he expels my sprite and adds one. Oh my goodness, now he's got major control of the wing beans. And so now it's my turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one, add it to my star flowers here. And then I'm going to do the grow option. So now I get to grow from all 4 of these adjacent to the wizard. So the first thing you do is that you go top to bottom. Well, and on top of that, I actually gain a free sprite in that spot. So we start with the Tangle Thorn. And so the Tangle Thorn on the grow option says I add one to the wizard spot. That's nice. And then we have the Honey Leaf, which says I add one to the spaces next to the wizard that have 0 or 1. So all 3 of those gain 1. And then we do the Starflower. And the Starflower again says I get a gem for each patch next to the wizard that has sprites on it. So I'm going to gain 4 gems. We'll exchange this single one for a 5. And then we do the Wing Bean. Now the Wing Bean on the grow says I add 1 sprite to the growing Wing Bean. All right. And then I choose 1 unlock patch and put it in any spot that's not next to the wizard. And I can't use the wizard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take his wing bean and place it here. So I broke up his group. I could have taken this one, but this gives me a majority of a 2 space field. And now he's only got 2 single space fields on the wing bean. All right. So now I gain my next tile. And then it's the mole's turn. And he's got the Tangle Thorn. So where he's going to go is this spot right here. And then on the Tangle Thorn here, it says he adds 3 sprites to the patch next to the wizard that has the most of your sprites on it. If you have no sprites on any of these patches, the mole prefers the one with the fewest mole sprites. Well, there is one. Let's see. It would help if I moved the wizard and added the mole. There's only one with my sprites on it, so he's going to add 3 there. So when you add your rival sprites to a patch that has your sprites, the first one is going to eliminate each other. Now it's empty, and you add the remaining 2 there. Anytime you're adding an enemy sprites to a space with your sprites, each single sprite cancels out one of mine. And so that's the end of the mole's turn, and now it's my turn. And so I have the Honey Leaf here, and I'm tempted to add the Honey Leaf here and do the Sprout option. It would get rid of this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this one and go right here. And what's that going to do? Well, that's going to give me 2 there. And it would add 2 in this spot here, but one of those cancels out the mole's sprite, and I just get 1 there. Sorry, I forgot to move the wizard again. The wizard token is just to help aid your understanding of where things happen on the board at that moment, especially in reference to adjacent to the wizard or on the wizard space and so on. That's what the wizard token's there for. Alright, so now I get to draw one of my tiles. And now it's the mole's turn, and he gets the Tangle Thorn again. Alright, so there's only 2 spots around here, adjacent to 2 patches. So he's going to go adjacent to the same kind. And he's going to place that in clockwise fashion, like so, in that spot. Place the wizard token there. Give him a free sprite. And now, we go back to the Tangle Thorn. If you remember, it wants to add 3 sprites to a space that has my sprites on it. But if there are none on any of those patches, it adds to the one with the fewest mole sprites. Now in this case here, this space has the fewest mole sprites. And just like that, he took over this field. Again, in a tiebreaker, it's going to go to the most sprites. And he's got 3 over my 2. Oh, unfortunately, that's the case. But I have the wing beam. And so the wing beam is going to afford me an opportunity here. Because I will place it there. Place the wizard there. Gain my free sprite. And then I'm going to take one of his unlocked spots. Bring it around. I think I'll place it on this side this time. And expel all the sprites on it. Then I get 1 gem for each expelled sprite. So I get a total of 3. Now I'm catching up with gems. On top of that, I have 2 captured sprites. So I'm actually in a better position than I was before. Here's my new tile. And here's the mole's tile. Now the mole's going to go right here. Oh, I spoke too soon, didn't I? He's going to gain a ton of points. So he goes here. Adds the mole sprite here. And now he's going to gain 1 gem for every patch next to the wizard. And 1 gem for every sprite on those patches. Oh my goodness, that is 10 gems. That is not good. Oh man. Well, I think it's time I mess with him a little. So let's go ahead and use this honey leaf in this spot right here. And now that's going to let me add 2 to each of these spaces. Now the first 3 of those are going to cancel these out. And then 1, 2, and 3 remain. Now I've taken control of the Tanglethorn. Once again, forgot to move the wizard. Alright, there's my new tile. And his tile. The Tanglethorn again. Alright, so there's only 1 space he can go here, and it's going to be that spot. He'll place it here. And so we move the wizard into that position, adding a mole sprite. And then he's going to add 3 to the space that has the most of mine adjacent to the wizard. So 3 adding to here, effectively adding 2. And now he's got control of the honey leaves for sure. Alright, so now it's my turn. So I think I'm going to go up here. Move the wizard there. And add 3 sprites to this spot. Of course, these 2 sprites cancel each other out. And now I've taken control of the Tanglethorn up there. I'm going to draw a tile here. Now I've got 2 of the snapjaws. At this point, I can exchange one of these for one of the tiles at the top. Because the moment you draw from the bag and you have 2 of the same kind, this lets you swap one out and go for something that's a little more advantageous for you. And I definitely want the wing bean, so I will take that. And now it's the mole's turn with another Tanglethorn, of course. So he's going to go right here. Placing the wizard here. Adding 1 here. And then he's going to add 3. He would add 3 to a spot adjacent that has mine on his, but he's going to add to one of those other 2 spots here. And so we're going to have to consult the chart again. So first, the patch is part of a larger field. Well, both of these are 3 patch fields. So then the patch among those with more gems if it has 0 mole sprites. Neither of those have gems on them. There are other plants that add gems to spaces. Then the patch among those with more of your sprites. Well, we already know I don't have any there. Then the patch among those with 0 sprites. Well, again, there's 2 of those. Then the lower number patch among those. Alright, so now that's where the numbers come into play. So this is a number 1 here and a number 2 here. So he's going to pick that one there, adding 3 to his patch. Alright, so now it's my turn. And so I'm going to do this one here, and I'm going to place it right here. Then I place the wizard on that spot, gaining 1 sprite. And then I'm going to activate the sprout option this time. So we start with the Tanglethorn. That's going to add 1 sprite to the spot with the wizard. Now I'm out of sprites. I'll go over what that means in a minute. And then I get to move any 1 patch. Oh, and the grow option on the wing bean is actually to add 1 more sprite to that spot. So what you had to do is you had to take one of your sprites off the board and add it to that spot. Well, since this area is landlocked here, I'm going to go ahead and add this one there. And now I get to move one patch that is unlocked to any plot that's not next to the wizard. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to move it over here. And now I've increased this patch to a nice sizable 5 patch, and I have complete control. And I'm going to draw a tile. I can go ahead and swap one of these out. And I think I'll swap it for the honey leaf. And now at this point, there's nothing left in the bag. So what you do is you take all 4 of these tiles here at the top, whatever's left over, add it to the bag. Now the wizard only has 2 turns left. So we're going to go ahead and go for the wizard. He's going to draw this one here. Oh no. He's going to place that right there. That's not good. So he's going to add here, placing 1 free sprite. Then he's going to add 2 to each of these locations that have 0 or 1. And so he's going to go 2, 2, which effectively is 1 here. Then 2, then effectively 1 there. Now he took over some major control. He got the Snapjaws, he got the Tangle Thorns, he got this one here to be a 2. This is not a good position for me. And so now I have my final turn of the game. And so I have to be careful what I'm going to do here at this point. But I think I'm going to go ahead and add... Actually, I'm going to add this one. Oh, I don't know where to add it. Yeah, I'm going to add that one there. Place the wizard. Gain a free sprite. And then I'm going to capture one. So I'll capture this one. And then I can add a sprite to that field. Oh, I hope that's the right move. I hope that's the right move, because here comes the last wizard's turn. And it's the purple one here. Alright, so we're looking at spaces. There's a 3 spot, 3 spot, 3 spot, and 3 spot. Another one up there. But it's going to go next to the purple one here, taking that spot. We'll add a free sprite there. And then it's going to activate the Starflower, which is going to net him a total of 7 points. Alright, at that point, that is the end of rounds here. And now we go into final scoring. And so, first thing you need to take into consideration with final scoring is that you know what difficulty you're using, because it's going to affect how things get scored. And then we look at the back of the book here. And first, your gems count as points. And then you go over the plant cards. So some plant cards have some sort of endgame scoring. Their cards tell you when during the final scoring they are resolved. Make sure you resolve these at the appropriate moment. So the Snapjaw here says that captured sprites, keep them near your sprite supply. Endgame, after field scoring, you must buy back your own captured sprite from other players at a cost of 1 gem each. And then the Wing Bean here, the Wing Bean says, before field scoring, each Wing Bean patch earns points for its controller, 1 point per plant type, including the Wing Bean found next to the plant being scored. So we'll start with the Wing Beans. And so I actually own all these Wing Beans. So what that's going to do for me is I'm going to earn points based off each of these patches that I own. So this one here is next to 1, 2, 3 different types. So that's 3. This one here is next to 1, 2 different types. So we're at 5 now. This one's next to 2 different types. So now we're at 7. Another 2. So 9. And another 2 for this one. And that's 11 points. So I got some nice scoring there. Now, if there were any gems in a patch where you had sprites, you would gain those sprites. But we don't have that plant that does that this round. So now we go to field scoring. And the field is worth points based on its size. And so you just follow this scoring here. And so if it's 1 patch, you get 1 point. If it's 2 patches, you get 3. And the second person gets 1. And you just follow this chart here. And it's best to just work kind of your outside in. So we'll start with this one here. This one, the mole owns. It's a 2 patch field. So it's going to gain 3 points. And this one, it owns as well. Another 2 spots, going to gain 3 points off of that. And then we'll go off of my 5 tile spot here. I own everything. There's no second place. And so the 5 is going to give me 9 points. It's a pretty decent spot. Let's go with this one here. It's a 3 spot. So he owns control and I've got second place. So he's going to get 5 and I get 2. And so I have this 4 spot here. I have control since I own 3 of the 4. That's going to gain me 7 and him 3. Then we have another 4 here, which I own complete control. And that gains me another 7. I own the single 1 here, gaining me 1. He owns the 3 here, and that gains him 5. And then we have the final spot. And since I have 2 sprites over his 1 sprite, I'm going to win the tiebreaker on that one. And I'll gain 5 and him 2. Now he's going to buy back his sprites. So he buys those back for 3 points. And then we total the score. So he's got a total of 47. And I've got 53. And that is the solo playthrough of Power Plants by Adam E. Daulton in Kids Table Board Games. Please comment below what you think of the game. Or if I had made any rules errors, let me know. Toss me a like and subscribe if you like the content you see here. And I thank you so much for watching Tabletop for One. Have a great night.